Strange things happen in musky fishing, things that you don't really plan for. It can be catching a 50-inch fish on your second cast, like I had the day that I got my first 50. You can't plan for those things. We didn't really plan to go to Odyssey, but Dave and I had such a great time at the Minnesota Muskie Show that
Hey
we
guys, this is
entertained
your
the
good buddy
idea.
Todd at
And
Harvey Bait
that was
Musky
kind of it.
Fishing.
We
Harvey
left it
Fishes is a
there.
great bait. It's
And one
new fish. We
Sunday,
put it out
I was
last
sitting
fall.
with
It's
my
an
wife,
11
and I
inch.
was like, we should
Developed
really
a
try to
large
go to
variety.
Odyssey. She's like, well, look up tickets because where we are in northwestern Ontario, Toronto is like a 22 or 24-hour drive. Like, it's far. It's crazy how big Ontario is. The only option is to fly down. Odyssey's a 1 day show. It's absolutely bananas what they pack into 1 day. And we're going. So I looked at plane tickets. My wife wasn't sure she wanted to come just because it's so jam packed. So I thought, well, I'll call Dave. Dave was actually working that Sunday night. I called Dave. I'm like, Dave, you want to go to Odyssey? And of course, Dave being Dave's like, yeah, okay, just book me a ticket and let me know what I owe you. So I booked, and I thought
I
I
just
should
got
really ask Richard
tagged.
because Richard not only is he my brother-in-law and one of my best friends, he's a big part of 54 Bust. He fishes a lot with us. He's a big supporter of what we do, and I want to include him more in what we do. So I called him, give him our flight numbers. He booked tickets. We are going. So Monday morning, I decided I wasn't going to tell a lot of people. I was going to kind of keep it on the down low until I had a chance to kind of let the core people around me know and a few of the vendors that we were going to go down and see. So I told like 6 people, and that Monday evening I was sitting down for dinner and my phone started banging away, and my wife's like, you better check your phone. So I did, and I was like, Ryan Pickering. I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? And by the time we were done dinner, he had called. And so Ryan Pickering is the president of Muskies Canada, and he wanted to know what our intention was of going to Odyssey. His very first text was, so I hear you guys are going to Odyssey. And I took it with a little bit of a harsh tone. That was bad on me. But he did want to know what we were doing. He wanted to know if we were bringing merch, if we were going to be in a booth with somebody, if he had to change the floor plan so our stuff wasn't close to another vendor with merch or with clothing. And we can make light of it now. I want you guys to hear our conversation, and then I'll talk to Ryan either at Odyssey or at another time, and we can kind of discuss our initial phone call because it started a little bit rough, and by the time we got done, I think we really started to develop a friendship and a partnership. And at first, he didn't know where we were from, he didn't know what we represented. And over time, that's changed. So now we look back on it and kind of chuckle a little bit. But it just goes to show you can't always, judge a book by its cover. And I was glad that he called and we had a really good conversation that first night. And that led to what you guys are going to see here, which is a really candid conversation with Ryan about Muskies Canada, about what it can do for somebody like me in Northwestern Ontario. And I'm not going to really discuss anything more here. I want you guys to hear it firsthand, my conversation with Ryan Pickering of Muskies Canada. Okay, Ryan. So obviously we're coming down to Odyssey. You and I've talked a little bit here now that, we've met through text and phone calls, and this is the first time kind of face to face for us. But for our viewers, give them a little bit of a background on who you are and what you do and what you're doing with the Odyssey specifically, and then we'll kind of expand on that.
Well, Muskies Canada has been around for a long time, and there have been probably 2 dozen or more presidents of the organization before I got here. So I came on board and started participating in the Odyssey in 2019. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were at that Odyssey, or you were. The Odyssey was started by a small group of members. One of the chapters was the Kitchener-Waterloo chapter that I belong to. There are 13 chapters of Muskies Canada across all of Canada. And the Kitchener-Waterloo chapter was one of the founding chapters and started this Odyssey. As most of your viewership will know, the Odyssey used to be biannual. So every other year we would host an Odyssey. That led us to trying to find a new home, which leads us now to the Delta Conference Center on Dixon Road in Toronto, and it's April 13th. And it's probably going to be our largest Odyssey, bar none, that we've ever been able to host. So yes, I'm the Muskies Canada president, but I'm also one of the hosts of the Odyssey, and that really is what one of the greatest things that I do with Muskies Canada, to see these vendors and volunteers and members and customers all come together. And you're going to be able to videotape that. You're going to be on the show floor early this year. We're getting you some early access so you and your team can watch this pandemonium in real time. And there's just something about it that you can't get anywhere else.
Obviously, we were there on the show floor before it opened. We seen the lineup around the corner, and I seen firsthand the mad rush to the hose bait booth. And for me, just coming off the back of the Minnesota show, which is a great show in of itself, it definitely has a different vibe. It's a lot more laid back. It's a lot more kind of like a meeting. Everybody's talking in the booths, and you're buying stuff. You get that little bit of a rush, as the doors open, but it's nothing, like you said, the pandemonium of an Odyssey. And that's how you and I kind of got together here. We had posted that we were going to the Odyssey, and you actually reached out kind of wondering, what we were up to. And through that conversation, it came around that, yeah, you guys are kind of opening up the doors for us to kind of get some backstage access and be part of the industry social on Friday night, which will be cool for us because we do, deal with a lot of the vendors already. So
Right.
That'll be a lot of fun for us. And just kind of taking it one step past the Odyssey, because obviously that's like your guys' big event of the year. And we're going to film that. We'll talk some more at the Odyssey, and that'll be a separate video. So I don't want to dwell on that. But what I do want to talk about is Muskies Canada. I've done a little bit of work with Muskies Inc. in the States. I did an article for their little magazine that they did.
Yep.
And everybody's kind of familiar with the Muskies Inc. kind of style. And obviously there's a lot of stalking in the States. So I reached out to my community and asked them, what kind of questions do you guys want to know? And yeah, stalking was one of them. Another one was, why is there no chapters up north? And is there a catch log like Muskies Inc. has? Those were kind of a couple of the questions. So at the end of this video, I can't do it while we're on the air here, Ryan, but I'm going to join Muskies Canada. So I'll film myself, joining and being part of the group here. I think David's going to do the same thing. So my question to you is, what does Muskies Canada do? And looking at the chapters, there's no chapter up north in Northwestern Ontario. I know there was in the past. What I see is there's a big disconnect from Southern Ontario to Northern Ontario. How do we address that? And I guess just start with what does Muskies Canada do for somebody like me or somebody new joining that may not have a local chapter?
Joining Muskies Canada has benefits. Membership has its privileges, and we're closing in on 1,000 strong. So we're trying to build an army so that we can do good things. And right now we have this militia. And when you start thinking about muskie hunters and the amount of passion and enthusiasm they have, and being able to channel that for good, muskie hunters will drive 16 hours north in November, just before the lakes freeze up there, and maybe they are a little frozen, and they're cracking ice slowly with their hull to get out to open water, and they fish hard for 4 days, and they get 2 swirls and a follow, and they leave with numb hands and frostbite, but a smile on their face, all while rebooking their trip for next year. That is what a muskie hunter is a good representation of a muskie hunter to me. That we have a no quit attitude, and when you can get them together in a club. So with our local chapters, a number of them in Ontario, a number of them in Quebec, and even New Brunswick. Um, these clubs, these chapters, they meet once a month, and once a month there is an educational, entertaining program that happens. Yeah, you get to see your friends, you get to hang out with musky nuts, you get to have a couple of beers and some wings with people you haven't seen since last month, but they almost always have a presenter who can help shorten your learning curve in how to catch, attract, safely release more muskies. And then there's always fun prize tables and so on. And we'll get to Northern Ontario and how that can progress. But that's what the rest of Canada gets when they join Muskies Canada. And we focus on things like connecting muskie anglers to that kind of information and those resources. We are always trying to make sure that we are protecting our resource, and we'll touch on that later, because protecting our resource also includes reintroduction of muskie. And we also want to make sure that we educate. And so whether that's educating us as anglers, you get a guy like Brent Bocek doing a presentation. He'll do a Muskie 101. And even if you know the basics of fishing and handling and figure eights and so on, if you've been doing it a number of years, it never hurts to have some of those basic ideas pass over and give you a reminder of how you should be working on the mechanics of your cast to make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity to win against this monster. So we do have, Muskies Canada does do logs. In fact, I would give you a little piece of trivia and say that the OMNRF, so the Ministry of Natural Resources, the MNR, does zero studies on muskellunge. They rely on our data in order to supplement their information for muskellunge. So all of our members have a log program, and it is similar to Muskies Inc. or to the Niagara Muskie Association. And I would like to take this time to remind everybody not just to log your 52 inchers or your 54 inchers, because when you log those fish, you will get a pin, and you will get like a certificate that acknowledges a catch and release muskie of a certain size, including your first one. As long as it's a legal fish in the water body you're fishing, you will get your first release pin. And we also tell people to log your skunks, because your number of fishing hours per catch is very, very important. And so there's this beautiful dashboard on the Muskies Canada website that is only accessible by you for your personal information. When you log in, it shows you how many hours you typically fish per catch and how often you catch fish. It has all your details in there. It allows you to create little side notes like, oh, this was the weather, and the barometric pressure was going up, but there was cloud formations coming in, there was wind drills on the water, what have you. You can put those specific details into your catch. But unlike some of the other clubs and organizations that track this data, we do not release that information to the members. You get your data and only your data. The data is then put into smaller packages per lake, and that information is shared with the MNR every single year. So none of your notes are shared. So if you have GPS coordinates or anything like that, none of that data is shared.
So I'm going to jump in right there,
Oh,
Ryan. So a few years back, I reached out to our local M&R in Dryden and asked for any studies that they had. And they sent over, their biologist sent over a study from the late 80s, early 90s. It's comprehensive. It has a lot of information in it. It's not current by any stretch. And I don't think fishing is the same spot it was in the late 80s, early 90s. So it's not super valuable. We did do some tagging studies on long-legged stork lake with the ministry on just tracking some catches. And I asked if we could try and do something like that in our area because there's really nothing that happens in northwestern Ontario. I talked to one of the CO officers. He's my friend. I asked him about studies. I asked him about trying to raise the legal size limit on a couple of our lakes, which still have a 40-inch size limit, which in today's world is just absurd that a couple of our quote unquote trophy lakes have that. And we always get the same answer from the ministry that there's no money for funding, there's no money for studies, there's no interest in trying to change any of these regulations. If it's not broke, we're not going to fix it. And my hope would be if we were to start to partner with Muskies Canada, we would have a little bit more say in this type of stuff, because what I'm hearing from you is great for Southern Ontario. It means absolutely diddly squat for Northwestern Ontario. And let's face it, I know you guys have St. Clair, you have the Larry and stuff, like big destinations, but you talk to anybody from the States where they want to go fishing, it's Eagle Lake or it's Lake of the Woods. And
right.
with no support up here, we're out in left field. Like, we have no help from the ministry, and we have no help from an organization like Muskies Canada. So that's always again, it's that disconnect. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I hear all that information's great for St. Clair, and you guys can make some changes there, but nobody's tracking what's happening on Lake of the Woods. And like Lake of the Woods right now, there's a huge population decline in walleye. They're starting to get that data, but where's the state of muskie? Like, we just don't have a way of tracking
Well,
it.
you bring up some good points. And when someone has come to me over the last 5 or 6 years and said, hey, we want to get the minimum size limit increased for Lake Nipissing, we said, no problem. We will give you the resources you need in order to attack that problem, and we will help you solve that problem. And so Muskies Canada could be great for the guys in the Eagle Lake area, for instance, but first you have to build it. And so I can tell you this, that this organization has become tremendously financially successful with the new revenue models that we've brought in with the annual Odyssey, with the generosity of the bait builders and the community down here. Last year, we were able to give just shy of $60,000 back to the industry, to scientists, to universities, for tagging studies, for many projects. And there is absolutely no reason why you guys could not tap into that resource if we can get some of our militia up there. You taking a leadership role by joining Muskies Canada, inspiring some of your friends, colleagues, fishing buddies, et cetera, to join. So if you joined as a nomad, so you're not going to join a chapter because you're 12 hours away from the closest chapter. So you can join as a nomadic member, meaning that, hey, I travel here, I travel there. I'm traveling to Toronto to go meet the guys at the Odyssey. You're out there, you're out and about. Join as a nomad, get a number of people to join with you. You guys can then petition to open your own chapter, and then you guys have access to our resources, our funding, and quite frankly, our interest. This is not only part of Canada, but it's a part of Ontario, and we we love muskie. A ton of our guys go up your way fishing all the time. I see no reason why that we can't do the same thing with you and your team that we've done at these other lakes and water bodies. The Spanish River is opening for the first time in 25 years and has signs of every single year class size muskie in it, all the way up to 55 inches. Lake Nipissing, the minimum slot size was increased to 54 inches. So we can help you guys protect your resource. We can help you guys train and educate yourselves on your resource. So we helped finance a Stony Lake project for the muskellunge and the pike invasion, and doing telemetry studies. We're working with the Petawawa River project with a couple of biologists and science students working under Sean Landsman, Aaron Wilson, who I think spends time up your way with Greg Attard, and Katie Cunningham. And those two brilliant anglers are not just out there doing this to catch fish. They really believe in improving the muskellunge habitat and capabilities. And there's no reason why we can't find a partner for you guys to work on that as well. The MNR won't do it on their own. They need someone to start the project, which means you need someone to start the project. But it starts with you, it starts with your friends, it starts with the people in your area. They have to put in the work and the time and do what the folks down here did. And we can help you make it work. I guarantee it. We are open to expanding our reach, and we don't just care about the Larry or the Johnny or Georgian Bay or Lake Nipissing and the French River. We want muskellunge to be prospering all in all water bodies, and we're happy to help you guys with that.
Well, it's definitely an interesting prospect. I've had a number of people inquire about it. Actually, David and I had a really good talk with Jim Sarek at the Minnesota show in 2023, and he actually called and we talked about trying to start a chapter up here, because he would like to support it, and I think it helps somebody like him and his endeavors on filming and fishing in Canada as well. And talking with some of the camp owners, there's some desire for it, but being where we are, and I guess being isolated in some fashion, there's a protectiveness of the local guides and some of the locals that they don't want any more people fishing here. They don't want any more information out. It's a touchy subject. It's a subject like a lot of stuff in musky fishing. It's very easy to fall one way or the other. So it's something that I think that we would like to talk to, some of the Lake of the Woods guys, maybe Greg up at Lac Sewell, and I'll reach out to my, friend group and see if there's interest in trying to start something. Again, being in our area, we're so close to so many great musky lakes, but everything's an hour and a half, 2 hours away from like a central point to try and hold these type of meetings. So we'll see where it goes. I think just talking with you and opening up this rapport, and then maybe having people see this might get people's interest, a little bit more piqued.
You guys are remote, and you guys are an hour or 2 hours away from everything, and everything's 2 hours away from them as well. So we understand that people want to be a part of something. If you talk to Frank Ungaro from the Ugly Pike podcast, that's something that he always talks about, is be a part of something. And to be a part of Muskies Canada gives you the ability to just hang and socialize and be a part of something. But if you're too far away, we invented something called Muskies TV. And every chapter gets outfitted with the equipment that they need in order to host these Zoom meetings. And what that allows for is people who are too far away to participate directly have their scheduled meetings done over Zoom, and we bring you curated content once a month that will allow the people to participate, be a part of the club, spend some time with their friends. Maybe they're virtually having a beer, but people can get together in their local establishments where they're capable of doing so due to geographic location, but meeting online for the people who cannot. And there's chapters that are doing this already as we start to roll it out at each chapter, and it's working.
Going back to what you said about protecting, just muskie in general, for us at 54 Bus, we're huge on the conservation side, and me personally, more so than anything, I want to see the sport more inclusive and not exclusive. I want to see more people in. I want to see people buying stuff at my wife's shop. I want to see people buying stuff at the vendors. I want to see, more people involved with Muskies Inc., Muskies Canada. I only think that's great for the sport. But yeah, we have to manage it. And the exclusivity side of it, I get that to a degree too. There's people that are at the high end of it and they want to protect it for themselves. That's a little bit self-serving. That's not the way we want to do it. So anything that we can do as 54 Bus, we try to promote and include everybody. And that's a big reason why we're going to Odyssey, to obviously, meet the vendors, meet the people there, meet you, meet your staff, and meet our, I don't like to say fans or followers or whatever they are, but the people that support us, the average people that watch our channel or know us from a magazine article or whatever it is, because it's a two-way street. Everybody has to work together to make this better for everybody. So I like a lot of what you're saying here, and I think a lot of our viewers will appreciate what you're saying. Again, it just comes back to trying to implement it.
I don't like to talk about what other people do poorly, but rather try and focus on what we do well. And I sense you're the same way. Rather than referring to them as fans or followers when they are fans or followers, that's okay. You're allowed to have that. You've earned that. Your fans and followers will all agree that they are fans and followers. And the fact that it's the same thing that I do in my business life. I refer to my team as my coworkers. Just because I own the business, I don't think of them as employees. I think of them as my team and my coworkers. And I feel the same way about Muskies Canada. These are my team, and I want to bring as many people in to enjoy that time on the boat after 9 hours of casting, and finally one of us cracks and has a snack, and the other one's like, oh, thank God you put the rod down. I I really need a bag of those, chips too. And so we I don't disagree with how Muskies Inc. does it, but I am pleased with how Muskies Canada does it. The data's encrypted. It's used as a whole picture, without GPS coordinates and that sort of thing. Although all that data is available for you if you enter it for yourself. And I think that if you want to share a spot with somebody, they better be a damn good friend and they better be buying lunch. And then you better expect to see them there the next time you go fishing and they're not in your boat. And so, if you've been able to narrow down some data on how things work, I think it's okay to share, and I also think it's okay to keep. But we don't broadcast that data, and we have no intention of doing so ever, as far as I'm concerned.
If we were to do something with Muskies Canada, or try to take a bigger step on trying to start a chapter, that's the angle I would want to tackle it with. Is let's do something fun, but let's be educational, but keep it lighthearted. And like you're saying, I know you had talked on the Ugly Pike podcast about like your mentor system, where if somebody new comes in that's maybe never musky fished, which for us in our area doesn't happen a lot because
Right.
there's so much of it around the area. we kind of know who's into it. You still get new people from year to year, so there is that opportunity. So, just to kind of wrap up our conversation here, and I definitely want to pick it up again, probably off the air at Odyssey, and then maybe we'll touch on a few things on the air. I am going to sign up to Muskies Canada either tonight or tomorrow, and I'll videotape myself doing that. What will I expect from that? What will I get with that? What's the kind of time frame? And by the time I go to Odyssey next weekend, will I have access to some of this stuff? Just kind of walk me and the viewers through that. So if anybody else wants to sign up.
Yeah, great. So muskiescanada.ca, you can click on the become a member, and then it goes through a few click selection options. You can pick a chapter that you want to support, or you can join as a nomad. And if you do that, and if we get enough members in Northern Ontario, I think all we need is 12, and then 5 people who are willing to step up and be executives of that chapter. Then you guys can convert and decide on how you want to embrace your chapter, whether it's a region or whether we call it Northern Ontario or what have you. You guys get to decide that, and the board of Muskies Canada can help you solidify that. But once you join, you will receive a username and password. That username and password gives you access to a tremendous amount of resources that are on our website only for members. So whether that's the up till now recordings of Muskies Canada TV, whether that's all of the release journals and articles going back 40 years on countless water bodies, and an internal forum that allows you to ask questions, search for a fishing partner, etc. And all of that is basically instantaneous. Then within a week, the membership director receives notification that Glenn McDonald joined Muskies Canada. Here's his or her address, here's his or her phone number, their email, and so on and so forth. And we send you out a welcome package. It includes a few cool brochures and stuff. I think you'll probably receive, let me see if I have one here. I don't appear to have one. It's a pretty nice little color poster that's maybe 5 inches by 6 inches, and it's called Know the Difference. And so it's just got different beautiful photos of eSocks on there. There's a small pamphlet talking about welcome, and it gives you a membership ID badge and a Muskies Canada sticker that says member, which I do happen to have one of these in my little wall of shame back there. And so the Muskies Canada, so you get to fly our colors, and at that point you also get to start adding to your fish log. Now, if you join now, you're going to have to wait until June before you can start adding to your fish log. And remember, and this, I can't state this enough, or Davin will haunt me in my sleep, make sure you log your skunks, because they're super important. That data is really, really important. And when you do log your first fish, you'll receive a pin, a catch and release pin, and then you receive another one, I believe at 10, and another one at 50, and so on. And every time you log a 50-inch fish or a 54-inch fish, you receive a certificate to add to your wall of shame. Every one of the meetings is listed under the city and chapter that they join, and they're going to get a membership buddy. And so it's not a buddy for life. It's just a simple little thing that we did that when you join Muskies Canada and you're going to be going to a particular chapter for meetings, someone who is outgoing and friendly will reach out to you and say, hey, our next meeting is at Ernie's Roadhouse, third Wednesday of every month, which means in about 12 days, there's a meeting. And the presentation starts around 7, but if you show up at 6, a bunch of us hang out and have burgers and beers and so on. If you're going to come, let me know. I'll meet you out front and I'll walk in with you. And if you want to sit at the table with the loud talkative guys, great. I'll introduce you and plunk you down there. Or if you want to sit over there and have more of a quiet experience, I can introduce you to a couple of guys or girls that are more laid back. And so we help you walk into the club and into the meeting and feel welcome.
That sounds good. We're going to kind of wrap that up right there, Ryan. I will get signed up here probably tomorrow, and I will reach out to you and let you know. And maybe you can, text me your response and I'll include that here. And we'll pick this up again at the Odyssey, which is just over a week out. I mean, you guys must be kind of getting excited at this point. I know we're excited to come down. So really looking forward to seeing you next Friday night, and let the shenanigans begin.
Indeed. Before we turn off, I just want to remind everybody that if they are coming to the Odyssey, that tickets are available on Eventbrite. There will be tickets available at the door.
That's awesome. And this will air probably the Wednesday or Thursday prior to Odyssey. So the people that watch this kind of in real time, I'm sure there's going to be some of them that are going to Odyssey. And for any of you guys out there that are watching, that are coming to Odyssey, and you see us on the floor, come up and say hi to Dave, Richard, or myself. And, we love talking to all of you guys. And I really look forward to meeting you in person, Ryan, and the rest of your team. And I think it's just going to be a really fun time. We got a lot of cool things planned for it. And I think it's the start of a cool relationship.
I agree. I can't wait. We are super pumped. And if this is airing on Wednesday or Thursday, then I'll see you in 3 days.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Okay, guys, as I promised, I'm going to sign up for a Muskies Canada membership right now. And first thing you have to do is go to muskiescanada.ca. So Muskies is IES. So I'm on the Muskies Canada website, and it's easy to see. It says become a member, and then you click it. It's why join, 10 reasons to become a member, how to join, and join online. I'm going to click join online. So I'm on the page that says register online. And here's the membership cost: $60 for a regular membership, $30 for students. Military is free while serving, renew every 2 years. What you will get: a membership card, a name badge, a Muskies Canada sticker, access to private forums full of information, online subscription to the Release Journal magazine, which I will reach out to Ryan. I would love to write for that. I write for a couple other magazines, and I think this would be an extension of what it is I do. The whole Release Journal magazine archive, opportunity to participate to chapter meetings and events. Your membership is in fact a family membership. A member in good standing can add family members for free, spouse and children. Well, that's a bonus right there, because my wife will automatically be, part of what I do, as well as my kids. You guys see my kids on here all the time, and for sure they're going to be out doing some musky fishing. So, ready to register? Yes, I'm going to click register now. All right, so it's asking me for a chapter. And because we had talked about there's no chapters in my area, I'm just going to click Nomad, which feels really weird. It should be a better name. I mean, that's just a personal thing on my behalf, but that just doesn't sound inviting to me personally. So I'm going to enter my information. And you got to create a password. And just tell me that I need to enter a specific set of keys for the password. And then company or title, I'm going to put 54 or bust because that's who we are. Got my address in there. And then it's going to say angler's profile, experience. You can go low, low, medium, 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 high, or high. I'll put high. Maybe that's close. And then caster troll preference. Gives you a whole host of options. I'll put 75% cast, 25% troll. It's probably not 100%. It asks if you own a boat. I'll put yes. And not sure what outing a partner means. It's asking me to check a box. I have no idea what that means. Life partner's name. I'm assuming that's my wife. And then family members who fish muskies. So I'll put my wife and my kids' names. And then there's comment page. I'm not going to put nothing there. Muskies Canada Code of Conduct. And I'll agree to that. Standard membership. And asking me to pay $60. And you can pay with a number of different things. Right here it's saying pay with PayPal, which I'll do. It's what I use for a lot of my stuff. So that's painless. All right, looks like I'm in, guys. Looks like I am a Muskies Canada member. And I'm not sure what to do in here, but there you go, guys. I did sign up. I'll take a little bit of time to familiarize myself with this. I'm going to give Ryan a quick text or a call to let him know I have, in fact, signed up. And here we go. Hopefully this is the start of a really cool relationship with Muskies Canada. And stay tuned on the channel here because we're going to have some cool stuff with the Odyssey. And we're also going to do some more stuff with Ryan as we get closer to the year, talking about how we can try and work with Muskies Canada, even if we don't have enough people for a chapter here. I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this style of video. I know it's a little bit different from what we do normally on the channel, but I think it's really valuable information. And it's stuff that you guys have wanted to see from the channel, which, again, I really, really appreciate. And something that kind of ties right in with the Muskies Canada theme is you guys coming to Canada, and I know the video is really current, but check out the video right here where I talk about planning your perfect trip to Canada so you can come and enjoy some of all of the great musky fishing that we have to offer. So for now, 54 buses out of here. I'll catch you guys out on the water later.